All right, let's get into Friday feedback. It is Friday. It's time for feedback. You can email info@davidpakman.com. You can respond to a YouTube comment, sometimes a TikTok. Twitter, probably not. I don't think we're paying much attention to Twitter, but all sorts of your comments could end up on Friday feedback. We start, though, with something a little different. We ran a poll on the community tab for the YouTube channel. We just asked, hey, what do you think of the selection that Kamala Harris made for her running mate of Tim Walz? What do you think? What's your opinion? 210,000 of you voted. That is not a joke, folks, not a joke. With 210,000 of you voting, 91% said that Tim Walz is an outstanding choice to be VP, while 9% of you wanted someone different, even after the selection of Walz. These are stunning numbers, and certainly reinforce the idea that while on the one hand, J.D. Vance seems like a drag on Trump, he's a little gnat that just won't stop causing problems for him that Trump can't seem to swat away. And on the other hand, Tim Walz has turned out to be an extraordinary asset for Kamala Harris. The DNC certainly proved that again. The Trump rallies, in contrast to Tim Walz's performance in rallies, certainly reminds us of that. So remarkable. 91% of the more than 200,000 of you that voted say, yeah, Tim Walz, very, very good idea. Here's an interesting little bit of feedback from Mark on YouTube. Mark73 says it is mind-boggling that Trump is polling as high as he is. In a sane country, he would be in the single digits across the board. Yeah, I recently did a podcast appearance where I was asked, how is it that despite all the things Trump has done and said, he still has support in the United States? And I explained, well, you have to understand a couple of things. You have to understand that the hardcore MAGA supporters are like cult members. It's not any different than the people that followed Charles Manson or Jim Jones or David Koresh and the Branch Davidians or any of these. That's number one. And number two, they make up a significant portion of the Republican Party. I don't remember exactly the split in terms of the Republican primary, but let's assume like 75% of the votes were for Trump and 25 weren't. My guess is, primary voters are probably a little more likely to overrepresent Trump supporters. So if we say, well, maybe not 75% of the Republican Party, but 65 is probably pretty hardcore Trumpists at this point. It doesn't matter what he does, and it's an extraordinarily sad commentary, but in a sane country, Trump would be polling. In a sane country, Trump wouldn't even poll 10%. He'd poll 3% as a goof because of his celebrity. And that'd be it, and we'd never hear from the guy again. On the topic of Trump increasingly panicking, this triggered a lot of the MAGATs and the Magadonians, and even the Magapotamians, I would say. JSPNJ said, he's not panicking, you dumb F. Kamala is terrified to debate him, and she knows it even if you deny it. If Kamala's the one who's terrified to debate, why did she say, I'll do as many debates as he wants, and I'll do wherever he wants them. I'll do them wherever he wants to do them. And it's been Trump who's been hemming and hawing about why would I debate at all? I'll do it only on Fox News. They aren't acting like people where Kamala is afraid and Trump is not. This individual continues and says, David Pakman fails again. Trump could say out loud that he won't tolerate schools teaching perversion to kids, and David would make a half-hour video saying Trump is in the wrong. Very much not. When Trump has gotten it right, I've said he's gotten it right. When Trump wanted to decrease the threshold in his tax plan for the deductibility of medical expenses, I said he's right to do it. That's correct. I don't care who's doing it. He then ended up canceling it. But no, it was completely, if he does something I support, then I will tell you. He just doesn't do that much that I support. Duckreach on YouTube weighing in about how the right is framing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and says it's hilarious watching them trying to paint a former prosecutor and a moderate governor as, quote, radical left. Imagine an ad with a picture of Harris Walz on one side and the QAnon shaman on the other, captioned, "Guess which one the Trump campaign sees as extremist." Yeah, they never say that the QAnon shaman is extreme in his beliefs, but Harris walls are supposedly Marxist, communist, anarchists, as Trump pronounces it. This is a very important reminder of how effectively they've moved the Overton window, because they've shifted the political dialogue. Even though the country has moved to the left over the last 10 years, even though polling has moved to the left, we still are overwhelmingly represented by disproportionately right-wing elected officials. And yes, the Republican Party is at a point where the extremist is Kamala Harris, who is way to the right, by the way, of where far leftists are in the United States. It's truly incoherent. But there is a knowable reality here. We don't have to endlessly stumble about wondering, is Kamala Harris left or right wing? Kamala Harris is on the political left, more or less in the kind of framework of Joe Biden. Biden's presidency has been to the left of Barack Obama's, and all of it is probably to the right of Bernie Sanders. And all of that is still to the right of what we would call true far leftism, which there isn't much of in the United States. It's not very popular. And that's sort of where they are on the political spectrum. It's not difficult to ascertain if you just devote a little bit of time to thinking it through. Joe M.W. weighed in on J.D. Vance wearing makeup and says, "I don't care about the eyeliner. I do care about the hypocrisy of a guy wearing eyeliner lecturing me about gender roles." Beautifully said. This is, I spoke last week or the week before about it. I noticed that J.D. Vance wears eye makeup traditionally reserved for stage performers and women culturally. Whether you call it women's makeup or not, I don't care. He wears makeup. Okay. I noticed it a while ago. It didn't really seem fair game for discussion until now. J.D. Vance is not only making all sorts of statements, normative statements about gender roles, biological versus step parents, pre versus postmenopausal women, what women are supposed to be doing with regard to reproduction, talking about abortion, or more recently, straight up not answering questions about abortion. He is imposing extraordinarily aggressive and normative views on gender roles, while there are numerous pictures of him in drag. I think that's still the correct term. I never want to use an offensive. I believe that's still the correct term, dressed in drag. Regularly wears eyeliner, maybe mascara, maybe even eyeshadow. I'm not well versed on makeup, so I'm not totally sure, but he's got a lot going on there. It's not about the makeup. It's about the double standards and the hypocrisy. And he has, whether or not he wears makeup, listen, put lipstick on him. I don't care. He is the last person who should be lecturing anybody about gender roles. That's for damn sure. Here's a message, not exactly of peace and love. And there will be some language here, because remember, we're not on radio and TV anymore, so it's all fair game. David, I can't David, I can't begin to explain how much I hate you and your videos. You're a shitty wannabe news anchor that will never make it in the big world because your conversation topic are horrible. You lie to your own audience, and you don't even try to hide it. You make bogus claims in condescending tones to market to your 16-year-old audience. And the way you look and speak irk me in a way I can't explain. Love you, shitbag. Okay, so this whole wannabe news anchor and I'm never going to make it. I know that a lot of people on the right don't like to accept this. And I'm trying to say this in the most accurate way. We're in the top 0.1% of YouTube. It's over. Like, we've made it. We won the game. Okay. If I quit tomorrow and that's it, we made it into the top 0.1% on YouTube. This program supports a team of staff members full-time, as well as a bunch of part-timers and consultants and contractors of different service providers of different kinds. We've done it. Okay. You look on YouTube for Left Wing, it's the Young Turks, Brian Tyler Cohen, Midas Touch, David Pakman show. So the people saying you'll never make it, we've made it and it's kind of over. Now, as far as my 16-year-old audience, Interestingly, the audience is older than you might think. Yes, on TikTok, the audience skews younger. But as far as YouTube, we've got a relatively middle-aged audience. And there's nothing particularly shocking or surprising about it. So anyway, someone who gets everything wrong in their desperate attempts to attack me personally. And one other such example who said, dude, you are the reason our country is going to shit. You fucking libtards need to move to Venezuela so you can live in what you call democracy. Hashtag Trump 2024. I'm going to say this very carefully and very slowly for the millionth time. I'm not a socialist. I oppose the Venezuelan regime, formerly of Hugo Chavez and now of Nicolas Maduro. I believe that that is the way for states to fail, and I am a social democrat, which is a regulated form of capitalism. One of the last places I would ever move is Venezuela. You might have me confused with Trump, who recently said he might flee to Venezuela if he loses. All right, one more negative message, and then we'll get to something positive. Richard says, I'm sorry, I messed it up again. Here we go. I'm glitching like Trump.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
Yeah. Okay. It truly is amazing how the folks who follow you, David, actually believe all the crap that you and the left media throw out there. You keep overlooking the obvious lies that are thrown out there to promote the make-believe world of Biden-Harris administration. Aside from your constant hate-filled attack on Trump, what is it that you prefer and like about the Harris-Biden way of doing things? This site does not let me see anything you respond to me. So if any of you care to tell me what a good thing is you like about the current folks in office, send it to me in a message to my address. Yes, I'm going to send you snail mail, Richard, with my opinion. I have laid this out many times. The great for the rich economic approach of Trump, crony capitalism is not for me. The more social safety net approach with a positive vision for what people can do when they are guaranteed some minimum standard of living that is espoused by Harris-Walz resonates more with me. On reproductive freedom, I am all in with Harris-Walz and not with Trump, who cheers about his justices rejecting and overturning Roe v. Wade. When it comes to foreign policy and respect for institutions, I prefer the approach of Harris and of Walz, which is we work with our historical allies. We stick to our commitments made on the world stage. We don't just bail on them the way Trump does. When it comes to immigration, I recognize that, yes, we have a border and the border should be enforced. And also, we've got to focus on why people are trying to come here to begin with. We've got to figure out what to do in terms of a path to citizenship for those who were brought here as minors. I could go on and on, but on just about every issue, I come down on the Biden-Harris side or the Harris-Walz side, and I don't know how else to say it. Finally, Gator Sean from the subreddit says, I think I understand the Trump press conferences now. Sometimes when I'm stressed, I get in the car and drive around a little and just talk to myself out loud. That's what his press events seem like today. They are just him venting out loud to himself. Yeah, I've called them verbal ink blots. That's really all it is. Trump's ability to speak, to take words and put them in an order and in a syntax that we can understand them, has been greatly diminished over the last many years. And at this point, Trump's events are, I would basically say they are free word association sort of events. Corporate media is noticing, even Trump supporters are noticing, who look around a little bit confused when it happens. Sad, but hopefully we can prevent it from becoming something that emanates from the Oval Office in the future. Get your messages in, info@davidpakman.com. Remember to pre-order my forthcoming book, The Echo Machine, at davidpakman.com/echo. Many goodies forthcoming for those who pre-order. And of course, remember that you can sign up at joinpakman.com. Become a member today. Super easy. And you'll get the daily bonus show, as well as so many other great perks. There has never been a more important time to support the work we do. We will see you on the bonus show and back here on Monday.